All right, how about that? Can you hear me now? Oh man, that was not a way to start us off today. Can you hear me now? I don't want to know the me's yet. I want to know if you can hear me. Okay, great. Sorry about that. Glitch on my end. I actually just raced back. I had to take two of my dogs to the vet kind of on an emergency. So just raced back, but here we are. And what I was telling before when nobody could hear me is market trying to make its way back here to unchanged. S&Ps were down about 35 points earlier today. They're down 9 points right now. Very, very low volume, very muted volume. Yesterday volume at the CBOE overall option volume was about 10-12% lower than where it has been recently. Seeing the same thing today, and overall S&P volume very light as well. Before I bring in our guest, which I know everybody wants to hear and listen to, and we're going to talk about Bitcoin and what to expect, a couple things in the marketplace that I am looking at right now, currently right now. You can see on my watch list here, on my radar, I've got this caution triangle thing flashing up here. That means something on my watch list, on my alert list, just hit, and that is LMT, Lockheed Martin, who had earnings earlier today. Stock is getting waxed. It's down about 6%. Now, why do I have it on my radar? Right there. Look at this chart here, here. And now we're back at the 50. Is that a good indicator? Is that something that we're going to look into? Yeah, definitely going to look into it. That has been really, really good support here over the last 6 to 9 months or so. Even with earnings already out and vol down quite a bit, implied vol you can see is still pretty expensive here. So what does that mean? Well, when we get finished with the live stream, we're going to take a look at that. And if we want to take something of a neutral to bullish position, we still may want to even sell a put spread or get a credit of some sort because vol is still high, even though we've seen that crush. Okay, two other things before I bring our guest in here. Okay, FedEx, those of you that are in our op vol room, FedEx, we have this position on. This position is called a strangle swap. Basically, what we're looking to do is a stock to move in either direction to either of these short strikes. And in this case, in FedEx, it's 260 or 277 and a half. Now, the reason I put it on in FedEx, not because they have earnings coming out, because they already did. UPS has earnings coming out Thursday morning. So I'm kind of using FedEx as a proxy for UPS here because the implied volatility's lined up a way better than what I saw in UPS. And we have a similar position on in IBM. IBM has earnings tomorrow after the close. So we have this strangle swap, okay, where we're looking for a move to either 215 or 250. Basically, that's right near the expected move and about 17 bucks or so in either direction. All right, guys, that's kind of a intro, a wrap on what is going on today. And now I want to bring in our guest, Howard Greenberg. Let me give a little bit of detail on Howard's background first before we talk about Bitcoin, the state of crypto, what the elections might bring us. For those of you that don't know Howard is literally the go-to guy, I should say go-to person in the crypto space pretty much universally. Okay, he is the director of education and host of Quasar Markets Live. He is also the president of the American Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Association. Not only does Howard know the fundamentals, the ins and outs, he is an unbelievable trader when it comes to the crypto space, whether it's Bitcoin, Ether, any of the altcoins. So he is the go-to source, and we are lucky to have him with us. Howard, how you doing, buddy? And his handle, if you want to follow him anywhere on social media, his handle Crypto Hondo. We'll put that into the chat. How you doing, Howard?
I'm doing fantastic, Scott. It's great to see you today. Thanks for that intro. I don't know if I can live up to it now.
Oh, I think you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. Before we look into some specifics in crypto, whether it's Bitcoin, altcoins, maybe some of the equity proxies, what's going on in the crypto space here? I know everybody. If you look at the news, right, and if you follow crypto at all, there's so much about the Trump trade going into the election that he is so pro crypto. I'm not sure I believe that or not. Now there's some from the other side coming on. So, what do you make of it?
So, it's amazing how far we've come in the last year and a half or so from no one wanting to talk about crypto on Capitol Hill to everybody making it part of their campaign, in large part because they've seen huge donations. We saw Trump get some huge donations from Coinbase, from Ripple Labs, from other companies in the space, and for a while from Anderson Horowitz in the space, and who still has a large super PAC that they funded. But now recently, we've also seen the other side of that with people like Mark Cuban, Mike Novogratz, also Chris Larson, who was the founder of Ripple, also the founder of Stellar, and Anderson Horowitz's main guy, Ben Horowitz, now backing Kamala. So we're seeing both sides get involved. Part of that is that we have to get some regulations that make sense in the country. We see it getting offshored, and both sides have seen that, and it's become a hot button topic for both sides of the aisle. So we are finally seeing things in DC happen to move. Stablecoin regulation, I think, will be the first thing that we see. We could see it even before the end of the year.
So, why is this all of a sudden, though, coming out now? I mean, earlier in the year, we saw the Bitcoin ETFs, we saw Ether ETFs. That was, really the pump up in pricing here was a lot of that attributed to both of those ETFs. Why are we now seeing all of this in the news? Is that because, and I don't want to get political here, are both sides just trying to buy votes? And then once the election's over, is this going to kind of wane a little bit? Or what do you make of this? You would know, you're on the inside.
Yeah, I think it will wane a little bit, but I'd also say, who else have you seen talking about crypto a lot? Larry Fink, right? You're seeing a lot of Stanley Druckenmiller. Paul Tudor today said he's buying Bitcoin today on CNBC. So, you're seeing traditional finance. BlackRock's building things out on Ethereum. They have their own fund, Biddle, that was done with Securitize and Franklin Templeton, and that it's all done on Ethereum. So, Jamie Dimon, who said it was, the bane of his existence, again, now has Bitcoin ETFs. And you'd have to tell me, has there ever been an ETF this successful this quick?
There's no question about that. And you mentioned Jamie Dimon, and just because he was in the news today, I think it was just a few weeks ago, one side came out and said that Jamie Dimon endorsed him, and then there was all this, kind of saying, no, I didn't. And then this morning I saw that he said that he would be happy to serve on Harris's cabinet.
Yeah.
So, what you see in the news here, what you see in the press, everybody, you always have to take with a grain of salt. When it comes to crypto, though, and especially with Jamie Dimon, you kind of have seen that flip over, boy, this is the biggest waste, to, okay, we're going to build something out on this, right?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of money going in, the ETF has huge money in it. One of the guys that's a contributor at Quasar Markets is Matthew Tuttle, and he is the Tuttle ETFs. He has MSTU, which is a 3 times leveraged position on Master. He's got like $500 million in AUM already. They launched it like 3 weeks ago.
Wow. Wow.
So
So now that you're talking about, some of the proxies or ETFs, I do want to ask you something here, and I'm going to take you off the screen and just go to the charts for something here. We have had a long position in MSTR for about 2 weeks now, since that last dip down. This thing retraced back to like 190-ish or so, and we've been long it. We've taken some nice profits out of it. It's now bumping up against some very, very significant resistance, that prior high right around, what is that, 225, 227 area. Does this thing have more room to go?
I think we might see a little bit of a pullback first because it is a proxy for Bitcoin. Let's face it, that is, what people look at. And I think Bitcoin's ready to take a little bit of a breath for a day or two before we make our next run up. So what I'm looking for is maybe a pullback to that $200 range here again on MSTR before it takes off. I think we're
All
going to see
right,
an
so
undercut
you
and
you
rally.
you hear that, Prosper folks, because we have a couple of positions in MSTR and we've already taken profits. Maybe we're gonna look to exit out of the balance here, or at least get a stop exit in here. Based on what Howard said. So let's continue that, Howard, and let's look at something that you and I have worked on together for a long time with positions, and I know one that you follow really closely, and that is Mara.
Yep.
So tell
I'm a
me
big
what
fan.
you think there. I've got it up on the screen
Yeah, so
here.
so Mara's at an inflection point right here. You can see it's at the top of the range where it's hit huge resistance at 19 for 3-4 months, and it was
Yeah, and
strong.
that's also its 200-day moving average.
Exactly. So you have two things above it here. And again, what I think we're going to see is I think Bitcoin's going to take a little bit of a break. I'm looking for a pullback here towards that 1650 area. And then again, a blast out there. So almost a 50% retracement on the run up here from 15 and a half to 19. I think it comes back towards that 50% retracement. And then I'm looking for the breakout through that 200. But I will warn you, if it breaks 200, it makes explosive moves through
Yeah,
that 200.
looks to me like the next stop after, if it breaks the 200, could be in the 26-27 area.
Yeah, exactly. 2685 in that area, I'd start to be looking. So there's huge upside here. Again, I don't know that Bitcoin's going to give us the strength to get over it during earnings report week here this week. I think looking more into next week is when we'll probably see that breakout. I think we sort of got our wins this week that we're going to get. We're going to sort of fade out a little bit. Market, like you said, there's a little bit of weakness. I'm also a little concerned. DXY is really high, right? 14. That matters for Bitcoin. The price of the US dollar matters. The only thing that I'll also say is, BRICS, they're meeting next week. And Putin's now said he's going to include digital assets in the makeup of BRICS.
So
So,
so you mentioned the dollar, and I was going to bring this up to you
yeah,
because historically, we have seen almost a divergence, a negative correlation between crypto or Bitcoin. We'll use Bitcoin as the proxy for crypto, and the dollar and rates. And we've seen the dollar ripping. We've seen rates moving higher ever since the Fed lowered rates, and yet Bitcoin is still approaching those highs. I know we're a little bit off that 69,000 level that we just hit here, but it's still hit, to me, it is really held in there. So why is it,
well,
why is
gold's
it all
hit
of
a
a
whole
sudden
all-time high.
that
I think
negative
that there's
correlation to the dollar and interest rates?
it's not there. I think there's a couple of things. I think there's a flight to the US dollar from outside the US. So I think that that's influencing keeping the dollar inflated. Europe, let's face it, it's had anemic growth at best right now. ASML being a big example of, just getting destroyed, their second largest company in Europe with what's going on. So I think you're seeing people take a position in the US dollar along with gold, Bitcoin, anything they can get their hands on that isn't the euro, and that isn't some other currencies right now. So I think that's part of this thing. I think there's a flight to safety everywhere. Again, like I said, Paul Tudor Jones this morning, said it on CNBC. It's there's a lot of money still on the sidelines. It has to go somewhere. And I think people are diversifying into and protecting themselves. I think people are actually positioning themselves well. I think people are positioning themselves, equities are at almost all-time highs, but so is gold, silver, and now Bitcoin. So I think people are diversifying. I just wonder when I hear from Jamie Dimon again, is there any money left in the bank?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I've got a chart up of Bitcoin here going back
Yeah.
pretty much to the beginning of the year. Okay. And we have seen an entire series of lower lows and lower highs that maybe was just broken. If I go back to February, saw the all-time high 74,400. Okay, dipped back down, rallied back up to about 72 and a half, dipped back down to a lower low, all the way down to like 58, rallied back to, again, right about that 72,000 level, lower low again down to about 54, rally back to 71-ish, another big dip and a lower low sub 50,000 for a hot minute,
Yep.
rally back to a lower high around 65, and then from there, so that last lower low lower high combo, that was back in the middle of August. Since then, we have actually seen higher lows and higher highs. Complete flip flop. So if you're looking at this screen, everybody, if you're looking at the charts here, Bitcoin dipped on its last big dip down, which was literally just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Two weeks ago, it came down to what, about 59,000, right at its 200-day moving average, and took off from there. So given this pattern now, Howard, what do you think continues here? Do we now continue a higher high, higher low, or are we just in this state of flux?
We're hitting supply shock right now because of the fact that the halving was in April. So for those that don't know, Bitcoin cuts its rewards to Bitcoin miners in half every 4 years. What happens is there's a huge run up in the price, and that's when we hit our all-time high. And then what happens, though, is there's immediate distress, because what people don't realize is that doesn't change the supply in one day. It takes 6 to 8 months for that to work through the system. And now we see that there's half as much Bitcoin being produced or mined every day. And now when someone buys, when a MicroStrategy or somebody else buys a big buy, it just moves that needle tremendously. So we're seeing that supply shock happen. If you look, we've had pretty consistent volume. If you look at the daily chart, volume has been fairly consistent here and still bringing these prices up higher and higher. So we're almost seeing a little bit of a bullish flag there, bullish divergence when you start to look at that.
No, I definitely see that. So, to me, looking at this, especially with that bounce off of the 200, I'm not sure I buy it right here, but maybe we've now gone into a buy the dip instead of a sell the rip kind of atmosphere.
That's how I'm doing it, and I've been in that for, as you know, in our channels, Slack channels and stuff that you're in with us. That's been a while. We've been in this stage where when these irrational drops come down, we're just buying them and then playing them back up to the upside. The key is selling into the pressure. The other thing I'll point out, it's the first time that we have short-term holders in profit in a long time. And what I mean there is there's the cohort of holders that are under 6 months that we call short-term holders. They're usually the newest cohorts into the crypto phase, and they buy in, unfortunately, at all-time highs or on rips. And what happens is when you rip on that, and then they start to lose. That was sitting at 63.5 for the longest time. And if you notice, we couldn't break that 63.5 on 4 or 5 attempts until we just did recently. That rip was because we finally got through that supply shock, and that short-term holder selling is now gone. So what you're now seeing is people.
Was there also something to that with the whole government and Mt. Gox situation also?
So that's been a big nothing burger right now. That just keeps on getting kicked down the road. The German government did sell a large amount of Bitcoin back a couple of months ago. That did hurt it. The U.S. sold some. But, in general, U.S. government's like the 4th largest wallet. Chinese government's the 6th largest wallet. So while they also, again, rail so much against it, they are, 2 of the 7 largest wallets in existence are them.
All right, so one more. Now I've got Ether, ETH, up on the screen, and that is like almost this complete opposite. Ever since that ETF came out, it's been a dogfight, and they're losing. They're losing here.
Yeah.
We recently, just on this last pop up here in Ether, just hit right to the 200-day moving average, right around 2,800, and failed again. So what do you make of Ether?
We need more regulatory clearance or clarity. The problem with Ethereum is that while Ethereum is no longer in threat of being declared a security, the thousands of dApps that are built on it, the other things we used to trade, the chain links, the Uniswaps, those are all built on Ethereum, and they're the big driver during DeFi. We've still seen DeFi in the toilet ever since there's no regulatory clarity. As we start to see that come under the whatever political party takes control, I think either one of them, we're going to see more clarity there, and that's what's going to push Ethereum. As I mentioned, again, Ethereum is where legacy companies are building. That's what JP Morgan's using for their coin that they use to make cross international settlements. That's the blockchain that that BUIDL's built on, which is BlackRock's electronically traded fund that they have that is issued there. So that's where we'll see that come out. But it's still got more headwinds than Bitcoin does for sure, and that's why it needs something else. Ethereum is like Apple; it's the store where you buy everything else. It's the way you gateway into crypto to play with all the other parts of DeFi and NFTs and real world tokenizations, and all that's coming. I can tell you that people are building that stuff out. There's a tremendous amount of investment there. The people like Andreessen Horowitz and Dragonfly and others, but it definitely needs that. It needs more clarity for it to make that next run up.
All right. Well, I think it's lost a lot of its luster. It's lost a lot of its popularity as we've seen a big divergence between Bitcoin and between Ether. Everybody, if you haven't put me in the chat yet and you want to get in the wheel spin, and we got to introduce Howard to the wheel spin. In fact, we're going to add him in there. Michael Clark, if you can add Howard Greenberg onto the wheel today, that would be great. Howard, you're going to see what the wheel spin is. So last chance for that. Also, guys, please like the stream. That would really help us quite a bit here. That would be really, really helpful to us. All right, back to we always talk about buy the news, sell the rumor. And we do that a lot, especially going into when a company has their investor day. And that, we look at Apple a lot like that, where, maybe we'll see a run up before their big news release, before their big product launch. And then we kind of see a little bit of a fade. Is that the same thing we're going to see here with the election? I know I kind of harp on the election, but it is so focused and so front and center with crypto. I mean, you go anywhere to any social media site, and that's all they're talking about in the crypto space is about to boom, or, we're next call $200,000, right? I mean, what's going to happen on November 6th, regardless of who wins? Assuming that we have a winner at that point, because it might be protracted on for quite a while. But what's going to happen?
My comment there is Bitcoin doesn't care. And it really doesn't when it comes to politics for that. What you'll see is the ETF inflows and outflows might change that day. But what I've seen is in my role at ABCA is so many different large corporations outside of the US that are looking to get involved into Bitcoin, whether it be to build on Bitcoin, to use it as a payment trail, whether they want part of it for their treasury, or whether they're just trying to build better payment systems throughout the world. We in the US, we have a very centric view of what we do here, and there's banks in every corner, and you probably have 17 apps to move money. They don't have that in a lot of places in the world. So I'm handling calls every day from Central America, South America, because I'm on this side. My compadres in the Singapore blockchain group deal with most of the stuff out of Asia and Africa. They get the same things, but there's so much getting built out there. There's so many companies that are looking to do real estate tokenization in third world countries that are looking to provide this banking, for people that are unbanked, that it's going to change. In fact, I'm a person right now that's looking when no one's looking at Ethereum right now is when I'm looking to buy it.
Love it. So that almost is like, one of my favorite quotes from the most famous investor of all time, from Warren Buffett, right? Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful.
Right. So absolutely. That's how I feel with Ethereum right now, for sure.
Love it. All right, Howard. Before we head out of here, before we add you to the wheel, tell us a little bit about Quasar Markets, which I know about Quasar. I am very involved with Quasar Markets, with you, with Big Beat, Steve Orr. Tell us what the Quasar platform is all about and why people should be using the Quasar Markets platform.
Sure. When I used to do a trading room at Prosper, I used to take about an hour every morning to load up 17 different screens with all the different components that I like to use, whether it be book maps, a heat map, whether it be trading view for my charting, whether it was, the open interest with coin stats, whether I wanted news from my Twitter feeds. At Quasar, we didn't really produce anything new. What we've become is an aggregator. We've been able to get all of these folks that didn't really like to play together nicely and have convinced them that it's in their best interest and it makes sense to put ourselves in a place where you can log on to one platform and you can get your news, your charting, your option chains, all of that stuff in one place. So that's what we provide. My component there that we haven't quite finished yet is the educational component, where we want to make sure that traders have all the information that the professionals have. So we try to bring you different people like yourself that have been on, and Charlie and Mike from Prosper, but also the guys from Bullish Beers, folks from the ETF world. We have a trading mindset coach, Agnieszka Wood, who works on how traders should, sort of psychologically look at the markets. And we try to bring that information, and all of that is free. You can find us on YouTube. I'm there at Quasar Markets Live every morning at 9 a.m. We have you on every day at 1 o'clock. The show's rebroadcast there, and we have shows throughout the day, and everything is free. We're not trying to sell you education. We're trying to educate you so that you become a more, informed trader.
And I can, number one, I can vouch for Howard, for Big Beat, for Quasar Markets. I am on there. I have helped build some of that with them. Yep. I just put a link in the chat for everybody if you want to, head over to there at some point and just check out what they're all about. Highly, highly recommended. All right, now Howard, every live stream we end up here with our spin the wheel. Okay, our market minds spin the wheel for some swag. And I've got the wheel up there now on the screen. Everybody should see the wheel. And we'll give it a whirl. But you know what? Normally I just give like a drum roll, or I'll play a drum roll. I want you to give us the drum roll, whether it's, verbal, whether you want to pound on your desk. Give us a drum roll before I spin the wheel here. Can't hear it. Are you pounding? All right, there we go.
I was pounding my table.
All right, he was pounding the table. Here we go, everybody. Here we go. The wheel is in motion. The wheel is in motion, and it is full today. Is it going to be Todd Lindbergh or Karen? Oh, it came down to the last second. Todd Lindbergh, congrats. I think you all know what to do here, but shoot me an email at prosperswag@prospertrading.com. Todd, give me your size, mailing address. Love it, everybody. And Howard, really, really appreciate your time, your expertise. Anybody that ever wants to know or follow anything about crypto, you've got to tune into this guy again. Crypto Hondo is his, is his social media handle. You'll find him at Quasar Markets as well. Thank you for your time, buddy. It's always great to chat with you. Hopefully we can see each other in person soon.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, Scott. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Howard. See you, man. See you later, everybody. We will see you tomorrow, where I'll give you a heads up, everybody. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how dividends affect option prices. Something that a lot of people, even many professional traders, don't really understand. That's our topic tomorrow. See you, everybody.